am back. It has been a while. I was so busy with the projects I have and they take so long, so that I thought I make a video that is a little bit shorter, not in what you will see, but in what I have to make. So I was asked if I want to make a video for Cozy, and in a collaboration we will sketch some portraits of fellow costumers, and that's what I will do today. I haven't sketched in a while because I wasn't that satisfied with my personal sketching style, so I restarted with a new technique, and maybe I will tell a little bit about finding your own style or my thoughts about it, how you may or may not find your own style. After I had decided what pictures I want to use as a reference, I started tracing it through to the paper because I have some difficulties getting the proportions right, and so I have a orientation where I can base it on. It's way easier to do that with less surrounding light, so for the next time I will darken the room more. I made the tracing really light, so you can almost not see it, but it was enough to know where to sketch later. I chose a sketch with a pencil because that is one of the techniques I'm really comfy with. Often I start with the eyes, or almost always I start with the eyes, because that is the thing I want to concentrate the most on. The downside of it is that the face looks a bit strange with a detailed nose, eyes and mouth, and they look a little bit too big often, I think. So I try not to remake the nose until I have added the rest of the face and know how the whole thing looks. For the hair, I try to start with the areas that form the hair, like particular darker or lighter parts, and usually I start with the outline so that I can fill in the details afterwards. Often I jump from one part of the sketch to another. I try to finish certain parts like the face, then the hand, or the blouse, but often I see something in the eyes and then I go back to the eyes, or in the hair and go back to the hair, so it's quite dynamic process of sketching. I know some artists use a certain ritual to sketch. I'm just not one of those. I'm quite chaotic by the way I sketch. Now that I was somewhat satisfied with the face, I started again with the hair, filling in all those details and also the plants and mushrooms in the hair. Actually, I'm using really low quality pencils I have bought when I started at the university, and I still have them because I use them so seldom, but I don't want to throw them away because they work, they just don't feel that good. They're somewhat scratchy, so maybe one day I will buy some good pencils, but until then I try to use them and not throw them away. Usually I use a paper towel to distribute the graphite a little bit, because with my fingers I would spread some grease on the paper and that could change the color, so I avoid using my fingers, and I don't like the graphite on my fingers. Then sometimes I spread it where I don't want it, so that's with a paper towel, it's much easier to do. So now that I had almost finished the picture, I started adding some details, and this is how it turned out. One thing I loved about the picture is the colors, so I decided to add some color. I was interested if I could find some reference how to use graphite drawings with some watercolors, but I didn't find anything, so I wasn't sure if it's possible or if the graphite will spread and make it all dusty or muddy. So I made a little test to see if the graphite stays as it is, like it was, and it did. So I went on and added some color. Because I hadn't done this before, I completely messed up the skin color. You can see it here, it's way too dark, and I decided that it's just not what I want, so I removed a lot and started over again. I wanted it to be really light. In the end, the color isn't correct, it's much too yellowish, but I decided to stay with it. I just added a little bit magenta so that it wasn't too yellow in the end. Something I do a lot is adding color and removing it again so that it is way lighter than before. I don't know if that's the good way to do it, but for me it is the easier way. Maybe with some more practice I will get better with it, and knowing when to add how much color or where to add it. With the hair I started with a somewhat lighter base color and then added some details with highlighting color or darker colors, so that I won't miss some parts, but the actual coloring I made after I had that base color. With the hands I started directly in the beginning with less color, so I think they still don't have the best color choice, but at least it's not that obvious like it was in the face. I love mixing the colors on the paper. Sometimes I mix them before, but often I just add layers upon layers on the paper so that I get a mixed color. Something I really like about this technique is that the darker parts of the pencil sketching are still there. So a dark colored book will always be darker than anything else because there's already the graphite on it. I like this. It takes away a little bit of the possibility to make the shadows only with the color, but I think it adds a second layer to the style. The last thing I did is adding some more details all over the portrait, in the hair and in the face, and even some little freckles. And that's the final result. Since this video got so long, I decided to split it into 3 parts, and this was the first part. If you liked it, go over to the second part where I will sketch Snappy Dragon, and the third part will be where I will sketch Katie Bauer. So if you liked it, head over and have a great day.